My name is Bethany Floyd-Jenks. This is my research paper on combat correspondence, reporters of events or influences of political decisions and public opinions. Since the dawn of mankind, conflict and combat have frequently utilized forms of diplomacy, usually as a last resort, but none of these, less one of our ultimate failings as human race. Conflicts over the years have been for a myriad of reasons, including conquest, politics, religion, and simple hatred or racism. The constant common element of these conflicts, however, are that someone had to go fight while someone had to stay back home. Meanwhile, someone has told the stories on each side of the battle in order to inform these not present of the events, horrors, casualties, and outcomes of those battles. Although in the past 100+ years, combat journalism has taken a drastic change in the production of those stories, from newsprint to radio to satellite television with combat footage. The question is, does that reporting affect opinion both politically and individually back home, and if so, how? In order to establish a trend in the country's military history, we first have to establish if there is a similarity to the time frames of combat, thus allowing us to establish if those time frames can be correlated to the journalist reporting of those hostilities or some other factor causing the cessation of hostilities. So first, let's observe the time frames of American military operations that could be considered major operations over the past 100 years or so. American history of war and how long does the conflicts last? Determining a way to demonstrate this information that has the most impact and information. Illustrations, graphs, pie chart. Which way engages the reader to continue in the pursuit of information? Which style makes the intended informational point and purpose? 100 years of American military campaigns, looking at them and individually through the reporter's eyes and words. During World War I, journalism and propaganda. Who served them? Whom were some of the key faces of the press, and what did they have to say? World War II. A look at some of the major contributions of the battlefield. Who were reporting the facts or opinions, and we will investigate those. The Korean War. The shock of World War II still fresh in Americans' minds. Who presented that information back home, and what did they tell? Vietnam War. America's most unpopular war. Did the press make it that way? Persian Gulf. Justified and an endgame plan. How did the media reflect these strategies? The Iraq and Afghanistan. The War on Terror. A battle against hidden foes. Embedded journalists were on the front lines to inform. Did they? Putting it all together. Comparing periods of conflict with reporting of those periods, looking at politics, public opinion, and media and their influence. Did the journalists affect the public opinion back at home, which in turn affected the battlefield decisions? Did the journalists affect the political stance around the ending of these conflicts? Did public opinion affect military and political decisions? Did the media influence the public opinion of the conflict? In conclusion, in this section of my thesis, The hopes will be to establish a clear and undisputable connection between the politicians, media, and public opinion, which caused the end of armed conflict. This portion may also establish that there is no connection whatsoever, but if so, why?